Good Monday evening and welcome to the NCWLIFE Evening News. I'm Grant Olson. Before we get to today's top news stories, as always, let's head outside and take a look outside our weather window from this afternoon. And yeah, the start of that major rain that's headed our way. And you can see the low clouds hanging around the Wenatchee Valley. This was pretty much throughout the afternoon. Of course, you can see Turtle Rock. This is a shot looking from Orondo back at the Wenatchee Valley. And a lot of those low clouds out there today. And we are going to see big amounts of snow as we move through tonight and into tomorrow. Not so much for here in the valleys and lower elevations where we don't really expect any snow, more rain. But boy, as you move up Loop Loop Pass, 8 to 12 inches possible. Look at Winthrop, 6 to 8 inches. And we could see as much as 14 inches on Stevens Pass by the time we talk once again tomorrow. We'll tell you much more about this big storm moving in a little bit later on your weather forecast. And now a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. An Okanogan County Sheriff's Sergeant was injured late Saturday when a vehicle being pursued by deputies ran a stop sign in Omak and collided with his vehicle. A 24-year-old Wenatchee man allegedly told police his carelessness with a gun led to his friend being seriously wounded back in a December 27th shooting in Leavenworth. A missing snowmobiler was rescued Sunday after spending the night in the Mitchell Creek area outside Manson. And COVID-19 has now killed 44 people here in the Wenatchee Valley. But first, we begin tonight. The pilot and a passenger escaped serious injury when their helicopter crashed Saturday afternoon near the Winthrop Airport. Okanogan County Fire District 6 said it believed the helicopter struck a snowbank while landing, which caused it to crash. There was no fire and no fuel leaks. The Federal Aviation Administration is investigating the crash, which happened about 1:15 on Saturday. An Okanogan County Sheriff's Sergeant was injured late Saturday when a vehicle being pursued by deputies ran a stop sign in Omak and collided with his vehicle. The Washington State Patrol says 46-year-old Sergeant Kevin Arnold was transported by a deputy to Mid-Valley Hospital where he was treated and released with minor injuries. The 15-year-old female driver of the other vehicle also was hospitalized with a broken leg. The conditions of Arnold and the teen were not immediately available. According to the State Patrol, the teen driver was attempting to elude pursuing officers at about 11:30 p.m. when she ran the stop sign on Locust Street and North Riverside Drive and then struck Arnold's cruiser, went up an embankment, and struck a fence. A 16-year-old girl passenger in the vehicle was not injured. The 15-year-old driver faces vehicular assault charges. Well, in other news, a 24-year-old Wenatchee man allegedly told police his carelessness with a gun led to his friend being seriously wounded in a December 27th shooting in Leavenworth. Ricardo Barales Viraga faces felony accounts of fleeing police, reckless endangerment, and unlawfully carrying a firearm. A 20-year-old passenger in Vergara's Honda sedan was struck by a bullet that night in the Leavenworth DOT parking lot. Chelan County Sheriff's deputies say Vergara admitted he left a .38 caliber revolver on top of his car, then spun a donut in the lot. That sent the handgun flying off the car roof and caused it to discharge. The bullet entered the passenger door from a low angle and struck the victim in the ribs. The passenger survived, but Vergara allegedly drove at speeds up to 100 miles an hour to catch up to the ambulance. Police arrested him on Friday afternoon, and Chelan County prosecutors filed charges in the shooting this morning. A missing snowmobiler was rescued Sunday after spending the night in the Mitchell Creek area outside Manson. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office says the 51-year-old Chelan resident was rescued from the drainage at about 3:30 p.m. after getting separated from a group of snowmobilers shortly after noon on Saturday. He was reported to be in good condition. Chelan County Search and Rescue, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office, and the Lake Chelan Snowmobile Club all assisted in that rescue. Well, COVID-19 has now killed 44 people in the Wenatchee Valley. The Chelan-Douglas Health District today increased its tally of deaths attributed to the virus by a factor of 6, with 3 men and 3 women added to the roster. The youngest of these new victims of coronavirus was a man in his 50s, the oldest a man in his 90s. About half the total deaths in Chelan and Douglas counties have occurred among residents of long-term care facilities. 12 such facilities are currently experiencing COVID-19 outbreaks, defined as on staff members or residents testing positive for the virus in the last 28 days. Coming up next, the Washington Department of Health said Friday that all the regions created under the state's new COVID-19 reopening plan will remain in Phase 1. Hillary Franz, the Commissioner of Public Lands, who's made better control of Washington wildfires her main mission, now plans to introduce a bill tomorrow that would create a dedicated funding source for wildfire response. And travelers can expect more delays on Highway 2 between Wenatchee and Leavenworth this week as the state continues work at the site of a mudslide last week. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service-oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
Winter is a great time to trade in your current hot tub. Turn your old hot tub into money with Blue Lagoon Pool & Spa's trade-in program. You can save $500 to $1,000 off of any new artesian spa or take advantage of a free Bluetooth music experience. Blue Lagoon Pool & Spa recommends draining your hot tub every 3 months. Ask us about our drain and refill special. Stop on by Blue Lagoon Pool & Spa today. Merry Maids of Wenatchee has been professionally cleaning and sanitizing homes and businesses in north central Washington since 1998. Merry Maids uses commercial-grade cleaners and viricides. Merry Maids has implemented additional safety and sanitation protocols. They are strictly following CDC guidelines for the safety of their clients and employees. For expert help with cleaning and sanitizing your home or business, call or look up Merry Maids of Wenatchee to schedule your free estimate today.
Welcome back. In another news, the Washington Department of Health said Friday that all the regions created under the state's new COVID-19 reopening plan will remain in Phase 1. The state will reassess each region and announce on Fridays whether any will be allowed to move to Phase 2, which among other things would allow indoor dining, bowling alleys, and movie theaters to reopen on a limited basis. Chelan, Douglas, Grant, and Okanogan counties are combined to form the North Central region under the plan. To move to Phase 2, there needs to be a 2-week trend of fewer COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations and no more than 90% hospital intensive care capacity. The state this week will be launching a new dashboard that shows where each region stands under the new metrics. Currently, the 4-county Northeast region does not appear to meet any of those benchmarks. Hillary Franz, the Commissioner of Public Lands, who's made better control of Washington wildfires her main mission, plans to introduce a bill tomorrow that would create a dedicated funding source for wildfire response. The bill comes on the heels of a historically destructive 2020 fire season in Washington, which burned more than 800,000 acres and destroyed 298 homes, including most of the town of Malden. DNR, fire resources, and local fire departments were spread thin, and departments in neighboring states faced their own out-of-control fires, which limited their ability to assist. The bill would also set funding for forest restoration and community resilience strategies. Travelers can expect more delays on Highway 2 between Wenatchee and Leavenworth this week as the state continues work at the site of a mudslide last week. The slide struck a guardrail and partially blocked the eastbound lane of the heavily traveled highway just east of Leavenworth last Monday. State Department of Transportation crews worked on the site much of last Thursday, forcing closures of 20 minutes at a time. WashDOT says on Tuesday and Wednesday they'll be doing rock scaling work with more 20-minute closures between 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. You're watching the NCWLIFE Evening News. Coming up next, tonight's feature story and your complete local weather forecast. That and much more still to come on the NCWLIFE Evening News. Please stay with us.
The 2021 models are arriving at Sangster Motors. General Motors is on the move with the all-new 2021 Yukon. Yukon is redesigned from the ground up with a bold new look and all the latest technology. Also new is the Canyon AT4 pickup. This off-road equipped mid-size truck will challenge any rival for performance and value. Both of these models will offer Duramax diesel options for maximum power and economy. The American Challenge is game on at Sangster Motors now.
Hi, my name is Blaine Johnson. I'm at Global Elite Motors. We're tied in with Global Car Care down here locally. So we're not your typical car buying experience. Somebody can come down here, take a look at what we have, and if we have the right vehicle for you, we'd be glad to help you out with it. A lot of times we are able to go out and find specific vehicles for somebody so that it fits their needs, their budget, and all the things that you want without you being obligated right away. If you're looking for a good, reliable car, come see me, Blaine Johnson, down at Global Elite Motors.
Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Evening News. Dr. Mark Johnson, an infectious disease specialist with Confluence Health, said thousands of local healthcare workers and first responders have received a COVID-19 vaccination, and residents of long-term care facilities soon will. In tonight's feature story, Johnson told Wake Up Wenatchee Valley's Dan Kuntz the unprecedented vaccination effort presents many challenges.
As of this morning, we've had 2,800 healthcare workers vaccinated with their first dose of vaccine, and then 450 have gotten their second dose of vaccine. And I'm looking down on my notes because that changes so rapidly. And so we're seeing a good uptake amongst our healthcare workers here locally, and then in the state as well. You know, we heard as of New Year's Day, places like UW had vaccinated over 5,000. Swedish Medical Facility in Seattle had vaccinated 7,500. Yakima Memorial had vaccinated 650. So we're seeing good uptake, but it's a huge challenge to get this going and get it rolled out. And then in the long-term care facilities, that's really relying on commercial pharmacies to do it, and they've only begun to do it. And so we should see our vaccine uptake numbers go up a lot once it gets to the long-term care facilities. But if you think nationally about this group of healthcare workers and folks who live in long-term care facilities, that's about 23 million people. So it's a lot of people to vaccinate all at once. But hopefully some of the logistical issues that we're ironing out now get better down the road, and so we're going to become more and more efficient with this.
If you've had COVID, you survived COVID, you got through it, and you're back at it, are you by definition now immune, or is there still some unknowns? Can you get it again, I guess is the question.
Dan, that's a solid maybe. We don't know all that information yet. You know, there are natural history studies ongoing to look at this question. And by that, I mean places like Mount Sinai in New York look at people who have been infected with COVID. We know they had lab-confirmed COVID. They recovered, and they developed a very specific type of immune response beyond just doing something like an antibody test, which doesn't really tell us enough. And then to see how protective of immunity that is. And so we're still waiting for that data because it takes 9 or 12 months to see anything that looks like anything usable. And so at this time, I cannot tell you with confidence that somebody who had been diagnosed with COVID, that they are truly immune. It's reasonable to think that they probably are to some degree. We don't know how long they are, but that's why you've heard from the CDC. It's very unlikely when you've gotten infected to get reinfected within at least 90 days. It's not a 0% chance, but it's way, way, way less than a 1% chance of reinfection.
Time now to take a look at your North Central Washington weather forecast. Hope you all had a great weekend. Pretty much a quiet weekend, a little bit of the wet stuff over the weekend, and we'll get to those totals in a second. But a low cloud, kind of dreary Monday all across North Central Washington. That's before the rain moved in, and this was an indication that we were going to pick something up. Turtle Rock right there as we look back at the Wenatchee Valley from a rondo in our Sky-Fi tower camera. Unofficially today, high temperature. Didn't warm up all that much. 37 degrees, 33 is where we started. Our normal high was our low this morning at 33 degrees. Normal low is at 24. Our record high, beautiful one, back in 2014 at 53 degrees. And in 1974, yeah, 1 degree below zero. No new precipitation. Well, we don't have it updated yet. We'll do that for you tomorrow. But with our added precip over the weekend, we're at now 0.46, so just under a half inch of moisture since the first of the month. Sunrise 7:46, sunset this afternoon at 4:33. Let's take a look at what we can expect as we get into Tuesday, and all I can say is it's going to be a wet one almost all day tomorrow. Temperatures aren't going to be a whole lot different than today. Lower 40s for the Columbia Basin, usually our warm spots. Moses Lake 43, and then a lot of 38s. Wenatchee, Cashmere, Entiat, Chelan, and also up into Omak tomorrow. But let me show you now why it's going to be so wet. Here's what I've talked about a lot. This is our very, very moist atmospheric river. This is all moisture that's headed right up to us here in the Pacific Northwest, and that'll be our trend over about the next 24 to 36 hours. And yeah, it's going to be a wet one. We'll show you that a little bit more now as we get to our surface loop. We'll begin with tonight. Cloudy skies. We do have about an 80% chance of rain, and yeah, it's raining out there. More of the heavy stuff into the western part of Washington, but there's that atmospheric river, and you just saw how far that extends out in the Pacific. So it's going to stay wet Tuesday, cloudy skies and 80% chance of rain. And folks, we're talking all day tomorrow, maybe a quarter to a half inch of total precipitation by the time this thing pushes off. Also, wind behind it as the storm moves into Montana. Look at all of this wind behind it, and we're going to get caught up in that on Wednesday. West 10 to 20 miles an hour. We could see gusts on Wednesday up to 35 miles an hour. Going to be a warm one though, but it won't matter much with all that wind. And then high pressure. Here it is. Big ridge of it right over the Pacific and inland Northwest. Partly cloudy skies and mild. We'll see temperatures upper 30s to about 40. And then we're getting into a pretty quiet weather pattern. Other than maybe a rain shower overnight Thursday into Friday, we will see partly cloudy skies and very nice temperatures. In fact, on Friday, once again, we're going to be about the 40-degree mark. This weekend, very quiet weather. Partly cloudy skies. It's going to stay on the mild side. Ridge of high pressure still up and over the Pacific Northwest. Temperatures Saturday, pretty consistent, upper 30s to about 40 degrees as we kick off our weekend. On Sunday, maybe even a little bit warmer. Partly cloudy skies, and look how clear it'll be out over most of Washington state. And look at all of the green. Almost all of the state will enjoy temperatures in the 40s as we end our forecast on Sunday. Let's take a look now at your 7-day forecast, and tonight will drop down. How about that for an overnight low? But it's going to rain all night. 35 degrees the low. Expect a pretty much all day rain event tomorrow too, and 38, 45 and very windy on Wednesday. It will be mild. Boy, with that wind though, it's not going to be that nice. And then a very quiet weather period, as I mentioned, from Thursday through Sunday. Partly cloudy skies each day with high temperatures in the upper 30s to near 40 degrees. And that's a look at your local weather forecast. Coming up next, tonight's sports report with Eric Granstrom and more as the NCWLIFE Evening News continues right after this.
When you call Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning, you get 35 years of experience and customer service in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's friendly staff strongly believe in repairing before replacing and service all major brands of HVAC units. Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning is your local, independent, trained comfort specialists, proudly serving all of North Central Washington. Call 884-6444 today.
Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere is your place for famous blues, brews, and barbecue.
Currently, Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere is open for takeout. Owner Justin Hefner and his staff are just as excited as you to get back to their regularly scheduled full menu, music, and poker, so stay tuned. Meanwhile, Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere is serving a limited menu for lunch and dinner takeout.
Club Crow Bar and Grill in Cashmere, the coolest place in town.
And now it's a sports update on the NCWLIFE channel. Hi, sports fans. Eric Granstrom on assignment on this Monday. I'm Dan Kuntz, and the Seahawks defense, no match for the LA defense. One play better than the other. Seahawks are done. They lost 30-20. The final Saturday at Lumen Field, leading 6-3 midway through the second quarter. The Rams quarterback Darius Williams stepped in front of a sideline pass intended for DK Metcalf, returned it 42 yards, the game's first touchdown. From that point forward, Seahawks were trying to play catch-up, and they didn't play catch-up. Coach Pete Carroll talked about the dejected locker room after a quick exit from the playoffs.
Their defense was really effective today. The 2 turnovers were really costly. It's how it goes. You look at our whole season. When we take care of the football and we don't give it up, and we win. And today, that being down 2, it's really hard to overcome it. You can do it. We just haven't. There was this season has been such an extraordinary year in so many ways, and just so much around us, and just all that has to do with life. I'm really proud of these guys for hanging tough throughout the whole process of it, being so strict and regimented, to make it through this time as healthy as we did. We've learned a lot, and they've grown a lot, I think, in all that we had to come to understand. And this football season, it was supposed to just keep going for us, and that's the way we were planning. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get it done today. And it's a really, nice job by the Rams, really good by their defense, and they found enough in the running game to keep it going for their offense. And so it's really frustrating to be done. The suddenness of this there's nothing like it. And you just have to deal with it. And so that's what we're going to do. We got meetings tomorrow, and we'll come back and try to figure out a little bit more where, put it in perspective. But really disappointed in this outcome.
Now, before we left the game with a rib injury, Aaron Donald had 2 of LA's 5 sacks, also a couple of tackles for loss. Coach Pete Carroll said they just couldn't find an answer for Mr. Donald.
Well, there's one factor in this whole thing, since we've been here playing these guys, and that's number 99. And he hasn't just torn us up; he's torn everybody up, and he continues to be a significant factor, and he tilts it somewhat, and that's why I had hoped when he got banged up we could take advantage of him, not being out there, and I don't know if it's going to look like that numbers wise and all that, but that's the factor, and I wish we could find a way to stop him. I don't know who has, but we haven't found enough ways. And what happens is when you pay as much attention to him as you have to, other guys can factor in, as their guys have over the years, and they've had fantastic pass rushers, and that's a huge part of being a good football team, and so many things feed off of that. And so they've got a really good nucleus of what it takes to have a good defense, and the coaches have done a great job of utilizing over the years, and that factor has not gone away.
Russell Wilson, 11 for 27, 174 yards. He had that pick 6, of course, and a couple of touchdown passes to DK Metcalf. Russell Wilson said after the game, having the season end just like that stinks.
They did a pretty good job up front, obviously. They got to me a few times, and I think that for us, we just didn't play our best game. We weren't on our stuff as much as we needed to be, and we kept battling. That's the thing about us. We kept battling to the end of the game. So it felt like we still had a chance. And it was a tough matchup for us. We didn't play great today. So I think that was the unfortunate part about it, and the real unfortunate part is that's it. It's the end of the season. And after all this time of putting all the hard work in and everything else, and how spectacular the season has been along the way. And it's unfortunate we didn't get it done for the 12s and everything else.
Now, the Rams started with their backup quarterback, John Wolford, but he was knocked out of the game by Jamal Adams in the first quarter. In comes the regular starter, Jared Goff, who played just well enough. The big difference, Cam Akers running the football for L.A. He rushed for 28 times, 131 yards, and a touchdown. After the game, Adams said the Seahawks simply weren't firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Obviously, this wasn't the plan, right? But, we can come up with 1,000,001 excuses, but the fact of the matter, we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? Hats go off to, LA. They did a phenomenal job. They controlled the clock, and they flipped the field on us a lot of times and made more plays than we did. It's tough to, win ball games when we're not hitting on all cylinders, all three phases. And, the marathon continues, man. We'll be back. It's not the end of the world. Obviously, our season is cut short, but we got to learn from it and get healthy and come back next year, swinging on all cylinders.
LA moves on to the divisional round for the Seahawks. Of course, their season is over. All right, to the Les Schwab scoreboard from Wild Card Football over the weekend. Josh Allen, 324 yards, couple of touchdowns. Buffalo held on, beat Indy 27-24. Tom Brady, 381 yards, couple of touchdowns. Tampa Bay over Washington, 31-23. Lamar Jackson, 315 yards passing and rushing combined. He wins his first playoff game. Baltimore knocks off Tennessee 20-13. Drew Brees tossed a couple of touchdown passes. Nolans ended Chicago's season 21-9. And Cleveland scored 2 defensive touchdowns, raced out to a 21-zip lead, held on for there, beat the Steelers 48-37. So let's look at next week's schedule. It looks something like this. Green Bay will host the Rams Saturday at 1:35 on Fox. It'll be followed by Buffalo and Baltimore, 5:15 on NBC. Sunday, you got Cleveland and Kansas City at 12:05 on CBS, and the Saints and the Buccaneers in New Orleans at 3:40 on Fox. Gonzaga, no problems. They're undefeated. They're rolling right along. 116-88. The final over Portland in West Coast Conference men's basketball. Joel Ayayi posted the first triple-double in Gonzaga history. 12 points, 13 rebounds, 14 assists. The Bulldogs will host Pepperdine Thursday at 2 o'clock. Cal got past Washington 84-78, and Washington State drops to Stanford. The final 75-60. That's the men's. To the ladies we go. Gonzaga, no problems with Portland, 75-43. Washington State knocks off Arizona in an upset. And Washington and Arizona, the Lady Wildcats, the Lady Sun Devils and the Lady Huskies didn't play. They got COVID-19 issues. And don't forget, the college football season comes to an end tonight. It's the College Football Playoff National Championship. Number 1 Ohio State, number 3 Ohio State, number 1 Alabama. It'll be held in Miami. It's presented by AT&T. Kickoff at 5 o'clock. Our honor defend. We will fight to the end for Ohio. Go Buckeyes. Those are just some of the games that people are playing. Grant, back to you.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Now let's check back in with Dan Kuntz. How about that for a look at what's coming up tomorrow morning on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Dan, back to you.
Thanks, Grant. Join me for a Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. It'll be part 2 of my 2-part conversation with Dr. Mark Johnson, an infectious disease specialist with Confluence Health. We were talking about COVID, of course. We continue to talk about COVID, where we go from here, some of the numbers, vaccine, everything you need to know as this pandemic continues now almost into its 2nd year. Dr. Johnson will be my guest tomorrow, and everything else you need. Start your Tuesday. We invite you to do it live and local with this program. Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Grant, back to you.
Thanks once again, Dan, and that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around North Central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or give us a call at 888-NCWL. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
When you think of Doghouse Motorsports, you might think of motorcycles, but there's a lot more in this house. How about Honda power equipment? From snowblowers to lawnmowers to generators and even water pumps, Honda is the brand that sets the standards. Perhaps you need an ATV or UTV. The Doghouse has the largest selection anywhere. Did we mention watercraft and snowmobiles? And of course, we have motorcycles too. Back it up with terrific customer service and you have Wenatchee's best motorsports store 5 years running. Isn't it time for you to be in the Doghouse?
CVCH wants to make your winter just a little brighter with their Get Out and Explore gift giveaway. This December and January, visit cvchgetout.com and download fun, safe, and simple activity guides to 4 beautiful towns in our backyard: Wenatchee, Chelan, Kashmir, and Leavenworth. Most activities are free of charge and unique to the community you visit. So get out and explore. Visit cvchgetout.com for details.